Welcome back, everyone. Today we will be reading Book 6, so let's get into it. Book 6, How Odysseus Appealed to Nausicaä, and she brought him to her father's house. So there he lay in his thicket, worn out and heavy with sleep, but Athena made her way to the Phaeacian town. Formerly this people had lived on the plains of Hyperia, near the savage Cyclopeans, who did them great damage, being stronger than they were. Afterwards they migrated, led by their great king Nausicaä, and he settled them in Scheria, far from the world of men who earn their bread in the sweat of their brows. Nausicaä ran a wall round the city, and built houses, and made temples for the gods, and divided the fields among the people. But by this time he had yielded to fate and gone to Hades, and the king was now Alcinous, a man full of inspired wisdom. To the house of Alcinous Athena made her way. With her gray eyes glinting, she planned the homecoming of Odysseus. She entered a splendid chamber where the king's daughter lay asleep. This was Nausicaä, a girl tall and divinely beautiful, and in the same room were two attendants, graceful girls, one beside each doorpost. The gleaming doors were shut. Like a breath of wind, Athena passed to the girl's bed, and stooping over her head, spoke to her. She had made herself look like the daughter of that famous seaman Dymas, a girl of her own age and her particular friend. In this shape, Athena spoke. "Why are you so lazy, Nausicaä? And with such a mother as you have? There is all the fine linen lying soiled, and it is high time for you to marry. You will want a nice frock then for yourself, and the same for your wedding company. That is the kind of thing which gives a girl a good name in the world, and pleases her father and mother. Let us go out and wash the linen as soon as day dawns. I will lend you a hand myself, that you may get it done quickly. For you will not remain a maiden long. You have plenty of admirers, the finest young men in all of the nation. Get up and persuade your good father as soon as the morning dawns to get ready the mules, and a wagon to carry sashes and robes and sheets all glossy and shining. Better for yourself to drive rather than walk, for the washing tanks are a good way off from the town." When she had said this, Athena sped to Olympus, where, as they say, is the gods' abiding place, unshaken forever. There are no beating winds or drenching rain, no snow falls there, but the clear sky spreads cloudless. Over it a white radiance floats. There the blessed gods are happy all their days. To that place went Athena, when she had spoken to the girl. In a moment there was dawn on her golden throne, and Nausicaä, in her dainty robe, awoke. She was excited by the dream, and went straight through the house to tell her mother and father. She found them indoors. Her mother sat by the hearth with her attendant women, twisting the purple yarn. Her father she met just going out to attend a council of the chief princes, to which he had been summoned. She came close to him and said, "Daddy dear, couldn't you let me have a good big cart with plenty of room, because I want to take our best clothes to the river and give them a wash. They are all lying in a dirty heap. You know what is proper for yourself when you are with their worships and passing resolutions. You must have clean clothes. And you have 5 sons in the house, 2 married and 3 spruce young bachelors. They always demand everything fresh from the wash when they are going to a dance, and only my poor brains to manage it all." That is what she said, for she was too shy to mention her happy dreams in her father's presence. But he saw through it and answered at once, "Take the mules and welcome, my child, and anything else you want. Go ahead. The servants shall get you ready a good big cart with plenty of room and a tilt over the top." Then he called to the servants and gave his orders. They got ready the mule cart outside and fitted it upon a fine set of wheels and brought up the mules and yoked them in. And a housemaid brought a handsome cloak from her chamber and laid it in the cart. Her mother packed a hamper full of eatables. Everything the heart could desire and plenty of it, not forgetting the meat and a goat skin full of wine. Then the young girl got into the cart, and her mother handed her a golden flask of olive oil to use after the bath with her attendant women. Then the girl picked up the whip and reins, shining with polish, and whipped up the team. The mules went rattling along and did not shirk the pull. So on went lord and lady together, but not alone, for the maids were trotting by her side. In due time they reached a noble river. The washing tanks were there, never empty, for the water came bubbling up and running through them enough to cleanse the dirtiest stuff. There they took out the mules and let them go free, driving them down to the eddying stream to browse on sweet clover. Then the maids unloaded the wagon and carried the clothes into the deep water, where they trod them out in the pits, all racing for first done. And when the washing was over and all was spotless, they flew in a long string to the seashore, choosing a place where the sea used to beat upon the beach and wash the pebbles clean. There they bathed and rubbed themselves all over with olive oil. After that, they took their meal on the river bank while they waited for the clothes to dry in the sun. When they had all had enough, both maids and mistress, they threw off their veils and began playing at ball. And Nausicaä led the singing, with her white arms flashing in the sunlight as she threw the ball. She looked like Artemis, when bow in hand she comes down from the mountains, over lofty Taygetos or Erymanthos, to hunt the boars and fleet-footed deer. Round about her the nymphs make sport, those daughters of Zeus who frequent the countryside, and her mother is proud indeed, for she lifts head and brow above all the troop, and she is preeminent where all are beautiful. So shone the fresh young maiden among her girls. But just as she was about to yoke the mules, and fold up all the fine clothes and set out for home, Athena decided that Odysseus should awake and see the lovely girl, and let her take him to the city. So then the princess threw the ball to one of the maids. The ball missed the maid and fell in the eddies, and they all shouted at that. The noise awakened Odysseus, and he sat up and began to think. What next, I wonder? What sort of people live in this land? Violent, savage, lawless, or kindly men who know right from wrong? I seem to hear something like women's voices, the cry of girls. Perhaps they are nymphs. There are plenty of them on the mountains. The dells and springs and brooks are full of them, but these seem to be using human speech. Well, I'll just go and see. So saying, he crawled out of the bushes. He broke off a branch thick with leaves, and held it before him in his hand, to hide his naked body. Then he strode along like a lion of the mountains, proud of his power, who goes on through wind and rain with eyes blazing, as he pounces on cattle and sheep, or chases the wild deer. Indeed, he is ready to follow bellies biting, and to invade even a walled close in search of the bleaters. Odysseus felt just as desperate when he resolved to join a party of pretty girls without a rag upon him. But he could not help it. What a vision they saw! Something filthy and caked in sea salt, which fairly terrified them. Away they scampered in all directions to hide behind hillocks of sand. Only the young princess stood her ground, for Athena took all fear away. So she halted and stood firm, and Odysseus was uncertain what to do. Should he throw his arms round her knees and crave mercy of the lovely girl? Or should he stand where he was and ask her politely to give him some clothes and to tell him the way to the city? When he thought over the matter, it seemed best to stand where he was and to speak politely and quietly, in case he might give offense to the girl by embracing her knees. He lost no time, but spoke to her in gentle and persuasive words. "I kneel to thee, queen. Art thou goddess? Are you mortal? If you are a goddess, one of those who rule the broad heavens, I would liken you most to Artemis, the daughter of Zeus Almighty, so tall and beautiful and fair. If you are a mortal, and one of those who dwell upon earth, thrice blessed are your father and your gracious mother. Thrice blessed are your brothers. Their hearts must be warm for your sake, when they see such a fresh young creature tripling over the green. But most blessed beyond all these in his heart of hearts, he who shall come laden with bridal gifts and take you to his home. Never in all my life have I seen such another, man or woman. I am amazed as I look upon you. In Delos once I did see something like you, a young palm spire springing up beside Apollo's altar. For I have traveled even so far, and there are many others there were many others with me on that voyage, which was to bring me so much tribulation. Even so, when I saw that sapling, my spirit was dumbfounded for a long time, for no other trees like that grow out of the earth. And so, my lady, I am amazed and dumbfounded at seeing you, and I am awestruck at the thought of touching your knees. But I am in deep distress. Yesterday, after 20 days on the dark sea, I escaped. All that time sea and storms had been carrying me away from the island of Aegea. And now fate has cast me ashore here. No doubt I am to suffer more troubles here. I do not think the gods will give over yet, for they have much to work off on me still. Pity me, queen, I pray. To you first I appeal, after so much misery. Not another soul do I know of all those who live in this country. Show me the way to your town. Give me a rag to cover me, some wrapper you may have brought with you for the clothes. And may the gods give you the dearest wish of your heart, husband and home, and one heart between two. For nothing is better and more precious than when two of one heart and mind keep house together, husband and wife. That is a sight to make their friends happy and their enemies miserable, but they know it best themselves. Nausicaä stood her ground and replied, Stranger, you do not seem like a bad man or a foolish man, but happiness is something which Olympian Zeus above allots to men, whether good or bad, to each according to his will. Your fortune is what he has given you, and you must endure it in any case. But now that you have come to our country, you shall not lack for clothes, or anything else which it is proper that any forlorn wanderer may have for the asking. I will show you the way to town, and I will tell you what this nation is called. This is the country of the Phaeacians. I am the daughter of Prince Alcinous, their king and ruler. Then she called to her maids and said, "Stand still, my girls. Why do you run off at the sight of this poor fellow? You don't think he's an enemy, do you? There is no man living upon the earth, and never shall be, who would come into the Phaeacian land to do harm to its people. For they are dear to the immortals. Our home lies far away in the sea, out of sight of land, at the end of the earth, and no other mortal men visit us. But here is a poor homeless man, and you must look after him. God sends this stranger and the beggar man. We gladly give, not much, but all we can. Come along, girls. Give this stranger something to eat and drink, and a bath in the river where he can find shelter from the wind." The girls stood still, calling to one another. And then they brought Odysseus to a sheltered place, as the princess told them to do. They laid a wrap beside him and a tunic, and gave him the golden flask of olive oil, and bade him go into the river for his bath. Then Odysseus said to the maids, "Just stand a little way off, good maids, while I wash the salt off my shoulders by myself and give them a rub with the oil. It is long since my skin knew what oil feels like. I will not wash before you, and I am too shy to show myself naked before a lot of pretty girls." Accordingly, they went and told the princess all about it. Then Odysseus waded into the river and washed himself clean from the salt which covered his back and broad shoulders, and wiped off the scruff of brine from his head. When he had washed all clean and rubbed himself with oil, and put on the clothes which the princess had provided, Athena, daughter of Zeus, made him taller and stronger to look at, and gave him a crop of bushy hair, like a cluster of hyacinth flowers, as when a plating of gold is laid over silver by some clever craftsman who has learnt all the secrets of his art from Hephaestus and Pallas Athena, and knows how to make works full of grace. So Athena covered his head and shoulders with beauty. Then he walked away to the seashore, shining with comeliness and grace, and the girl gazed at him. She turned to her attendants and said, "Listen to me, pretty ones. I have something to say. The hand of the gods is in this. They who rule Olympus have sent this man to visit the Phaeacians, who are not of their own kindred. When I saw him, I thought him an ugly creature, but now he is like one of the gods who rule the broad heavens. I only wish that I might have one like him for my husband. I wish it might please him to stay here and live with us. Come, my girls, give him something to eat and drink." They hastened to obey, and set food and drink before Odysseus, and Odysseus ate and drank heartily after all his tribulations, for it was long since he had had anything to eat. But Nausicaä had other things to think of. She folded up the clothes and packed them into the wagon, and yoked the sturdy mules and got in herself. Then she called to Odysseus that they must be going. She said, "Now then, stranger, up with you and let us go on to the town. I will take you to my wise father's house, where I promise you shall become acquainted with all the best men of the nation. But this is what you must do. You seem to have your share of good sense. So long as we are still in the country among the farms, you must follow smartly with the maids behind the cart, and I will lead the way. But when we reach the city, which has a lofty wall around it, with a fine harbor on each side, and only a narrow approach, the galleys are drawn up there along the road, and each man has a slip of his own. There is their meeting place, round about the precinct of Poseidon, and it is full of great blocks of stone bedded in the earth. There the men are busy about the tackle of their black ships, making ropes and sails, and planting down their oars, for the Phaeacians, and care nothing for bow and quiver, but only masts and oars and the ships with their fine lines. These are their delight as they cross the hoary sea. Well, I want to avoid any unkind gossip among the people, or someone might blame me afterwards. They are very high and mighty in your town. Some evil-minded person might say, if he met us, "Who is this fine big stranger with Nausicaä? Where did she pick him up? Will will be will he be a husband for her? Will be a husband for her, no doubt. Some wandering soul she has brought from his ship must be a foreigner from a distance, for there is nobody near us. Perhaps she had tired out some god with her prayers, and down he comes from heaven to have her for forevermore. A good job if she has gone herself and picked up a husband from somewhere else, for she only turns up her nose at the young men at our nation, who are all after her, and good men too. That's what they will say, and it might bring me into disgrace. Indeed, I should not approve of any girl who did such a thing, flying in the face of her friends with father and mother to teach her better. If she has anything to do with men before it comes to marriage, open and above board. Now then, sir, be quick and understand what I say. If you wish to have escort and safe conduct from my father, you will find a fine grove of Athena close to the road, poplar trees with a spring bubbling up inside and a meadow all round. There is my father's park, and the orchard full of fruit as far from the city as a man's voice will carry. Sit down there and wait long enough for us to get into the city and reach my father's mansion. When you think we have got there, enter the city yourself and ask the way to the mansion of Prince Alcinous. It is easy to know it. A little child could lead you, for the other houses are not like the house of the royal Prince Alcinous. When you are within the house, you must enter the hall and pass along quickly until you come to my mother. She is a sight worth seeing. There she sits at the hearth in the firelight, twisting her purple yarn, close up to a pillar, and the serving women sit behind. My father's throne is placed near to hers, and there he sits quaffing his wine like a god. Pass him by, and lay your hands on my mother's knees, that you may see the day of your homecoming, and be happy soon, even if you come from a long way off. If she is pleased with you, there is good hope that you will set eyes on your friends and come to see your own fine house in your native land." When she had said this, she touched up the mules with her shining whip, and they soon left the river behind them. Quickly they trotted along. Quickly their toes went weaving. But she drove just so fast that Odysseus and the maids could follow on foot. She flicked the lash with judgment. The sun went down, and they came to the famous grove sacred to Athena, and there Odysseus took his seat. Then he prayed to the daughter of great Zeus. "Hear me, daughter of Zeus Almighty, Atritone. Hear me now, at least, since formerly thou didst not hear what a blow I had, when the famous Earth-shaker struck me. Grant me to come among the Phaeacians as a friend, and one worthy of compassion." Thus he prayed, and Pallas Athena heard him. But she did not show herself to him face to face, for she stood in awe of her father's brother Poseidon, and he was furiously angry with the hero Odysseus until he reached his own land. That's it for today. We'll see you guys next week with Book 7.